The mining colony's orbital defense platforms erupted in a brilliant display of light and debris as another blast tore through their shields. From the command center of Colony Station Beta, Admiral Tix watched in horror as his fleet's formation crumbled under the Empire's relentless assault. His antennae drooped. They were losing this battle, just like they had lost the last 12 engagements. "Sir, we've lost contact with Defense Platform 3, a young officer reported, his blue scales dulling with fear. "The civilian evacuation is only at 30% completion." The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. They needed more time. The mining colony below housed over 50,000 civilians, and the Empire was not known for showing mercy to conquered populations. He had already lost half his defense fleet trying to protect the evacuation. Another wave of Empire ships dropping out of hyperspace. The sensor operator's voice cracked. 20 vessels, heavy cruiser class. The Admiral's heart sank. Their remaining ships wouldn't last another 10 minutes against this new wave. He opened his mouth to give the order for a final, desperate stand when his communications officer suddenly straightened up. "Sir, unknown vessel just appeared at the edge of our sensor range. It's broadcasting on multiple frequencies, including some I've never seen before." A deep, clear voice filled the command center. "This is Captain James Walker of the Earth warship Thunder's Edge. We received your distress signal. Request permission to join the defense of your colony." The command center fell silent. Everyone had heard stories about humans and their ships, but few had ever seen one. The Empire's propaganda portrayed them as primitive newcomers to galactic society, barely worth noticing. "Sir," the tactical officer spoke up, "the human vessel appears to be heavily armored. Their design is unlike anything in our database. Should we—" A massive explosion rocked the station as an Empire blast got through their weakening shields. Warning lights flashed across every console. Admiral Tix made his decision. "Captain Walker, permission granted. But I must warn you, the Empire fleet outnumbers us 4-1. Their technology is—" "Understood," Walker interrupted, his voice carrying an odd tone that Tix would later learn was called amusement. "We've studied the Empire's tactics. Thunder's Edge was built for exactly this kind of fight." The human ship accelerated toward the battle, its movement surprisingly graceful for such a bulky vessel. The Admiral's tactical display showed something strange. The ship appeared to be deliberately venting atmosphere from multiple points, using it for fine course corrections instead of its main engines. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, "the human ship is broadcasting on all frequencies, including direct Empire channels." A new message boomed across space, this time aimed at the Empire fleet. "Attention, Empire vessels. This is your only warning. Break off your attack and withdraw, or face the consequences. You have 60 seconds to comply." The Empire's response came in the form of concentrated fire from 3 heavy cruisers. The Admiral watched, expecting to see the human ship torn apart. Instead, Thunder's Edge rolled with graceful precision, presenting its heaviest armor to the incoming fire. The shots that got through its strange, flickering shields left black marks but failed to penetrate the hull. The tactical officer whispered in awe, "It's not just armor. There are layers. Systems within systems. Look at these readings. They have backup systems for their backup systems." The 60 seconds passed. Captain Walker's voice came again, this time carrying a different tone, one that made Admiral Tix's spine tingle with both fear and anticipation. "Very well. You were warned." Thunder's Edge suddenly accelerated, its massive form moving with impossible agility as it drove straight toward the heart of the Empire formation. "Battle stations," Walker ordered. "Show them why you don't corner a human ship." The Empire fleet hesitated, clearly uncertain how to deal with this new threat. Their perfect formation, so effective against conventional attacks, began to show signs of confusion as Thunder's Edge demonstrated maneuvers that defied their tactical doctrine. Admiral Tix watched in fascination as the human ship unleashed its first volley. Not the elegant energy weapons his people used, but a brutal combination of kinetic projectiles, guided missiles, and energy pulses that overwhelmed the Empire ship's defensive calculations. "Sir," his tactical officer reported with growing excitement. "The Empire fleet, they're actually falling back. Their formation is breaking." The Admiral's antennae quivered. Perhaps, he thought, the stories about humans were true after all. And perhaps, just perhaps, this battle wasn't lost yet. She turned to her console, fingers flying over the controls. "Bridge, we've lost the starboard weapon arrays, but I've got a crazy idea." "Those are my favorite kind," Lieutenant Walker responded. "What do you need?" "Give me 2 minutes and keep them off our back. I'm going to rewrite the power distribution protocols. It won't be pretty, but it'll work." The Empire ships pressed their attack, expecting the human vessel to retreat for repairs. Instead, Thunder's Edge turned to face them, presenting its damaged side to their sensors. The human ship appeared to be failing, its power grid fluctuating wildly. "The primitive vessel is dying," the Empire commander broadcast triumphantly. "Finish them." Inside Thunder's Edge, Reed completed her modifications. The ship's power grid was now running in a way that would make any alien engineer scream in horror, but it worked. Energy flowed through backup systems, emergency circuits, and even the damage control network itself. "Bridge, we're ready," Reed reported. "But we've got only one shot at this." Walker nodded. "Storm, execute attack pattern Baker 3. Let's show them what a dying human ship can do." Thunder's Edge suddenly lit up like a nova. Every damaged system, every broken power conduit, every exposed circuit became a weapon. Raw energy coursed through the ship's wounded sections, turning hull breaches into improvised energy weapons. The Empire ships recoiled as their sensors overloaded. Their perfect formation broke again as they struggled to process what they were seeing. A ship using its own battle damage as a weapon was beyond their tactical doctrine. From his command center, Admiral Tix watched in amazement. "Their ship is heavily damaged," he observed, "but they're fighting better now than when they arrived. How is this possible?" His tactical officer, who had been studying the human vessel's performance, finally understood. "Sir, I don't think they see damage the same way we do. Look at their crew. They're not trying to restore systems to perfect operation. They're adapting, using everything they have, even the damaged parts. It's beautiful, in a chaotic sort of way." Thunder's Edge spun through space, its wounds blazing with power, its guns still firing, its crew working together in organized chaos. The Empire fleet faced a choice they had never encountered before. How do you defeat an enemy that turns their own damage into an advantage? The Empire's quantum communication network suddenly went dark, plunging their fleet into confusion. Their ships, dependent on instant data sharing, struggled to coordinate their attacks. But aboard Thunder's Edge, Walker smiled as he picked up an old-fashioned radio microphone. All Allied ships switched to radio frequency 14.58. Admiral Tix stared at his console in confusion as primitive radio waves carried crystal-clear human voice transmissions. His crew scrambled to activate long-unused radio receivers, systems considered too obsolete for modern warfare. "This is madness," one of his officers muttered. "Using radio waves in space combat? The delay alone should make it impossible to coordinate." But Walker and his crew had studied Earth's naval history. They knew how Marine commanders had once fought using sound waves in the ocean's depths. Space wasn't so different. You just had to account for the delay. "Enemy fleet is splitting into 3 groups," Storm reported. "Their formation suggests they're preparing for a standard encirclement pattern." Walker nodded. "Just like the Battle of Jutland." "Admiral Tix, can you move your remaining ships to Sector 7? I have an idea that worked pretty well on Earth about 500 years ago." The Admiral, having watched Thunder's Edge perform the impossible multiple times now, didn't hesitate. His ships moved into position, using the human vessel's radio guidance to maintain formation. The Empire fleet pressed their attack, confident in their superior numbers. Their ships moved with perfect precision, their targeting computers calculating every possible counter-move. But they hadn't counted on humans applying ancient naval tactics to space warfare. "All ships, prepare for synchronized fire on my mark," Walker commanded. Just like crossing the T in wet Navy battles. They can't bring all their weapons to bear if we control the angle of engagement. Thunder's Edge led the defensive line, its damaged sections now covered by Allied vessels. The ship's makeshift repairs held together, a testament to human engineering's focus on durability over perfection. "Enemy flagship is launching fighters," Storm announced. Their attack pattern matches historical records from the Battle of Sector 9. "Good," Walker replied. "That means they're still thinking in 3 dimensions. Lieutenant Reed, are our point defense systems ready for some old-fashioned flak barrage?" "Ready and waiting, Captain," Reed's voice came back. "We've repurposed some mining charges. They're not pretty, but they'll create one hell of a defensive screen." The Empire fighters swooped in, their energy weapons charging. They expected to face modern point defense systems, precise energy beams or guided missiles. Instead, Thunder's Edge filled space with clouds of metallic fragments and explosive charges, turning whole sectors into no-fly zones. "Impossible," the Empire commander's voice crackled over the captured channels. "They're using unguided projectiles in void combat. This defies all tactical doctrine." "That's the point," Walker muttered. Then, louder, "Admiral Tix, bring your ships around to heading Mach 310. Time to show them why humans still study historical battles." The combined fleet moved as one, using Thunder's Edge's battle-damaged bulk as a shield. The Empire ships found themselves forced into a position naval commanders on Earth would have recognized from centuries past, caught in a crossfire, with their own formation working against them. Multiple enemy ships breaking formation. Storm reported. "Their tactical computers are struggling to calculate our next move." "Because we're not following any pattern they know," Walker replied. "Admiral Tix, prepare your ships for maximum thrust on my signal. We're going to borrow a trick from Admiral Nelson." The Empire fleet's perfect formation had become a weakness. Their ships, arranged for optimal modern combat, couldn't adapt fast enough to tactics their computers classified as obsolete and illogical. From the colony below, refugees watched in awe as the battle unfolded. The human ship, still bearing its wounds from previous fighting, led the Allied fleet in a dance of violence that defied modern tactical doctrine. Its radio signals, considered primitive by galactic standards, coordinated the defense with unwavering precision. "They're not just fighting," Admiral Tix realized as he watched Thunder's Edge coordinate another synchronized strike. "They're teaching us how to fight differently. Every move they make, every tactic they show us, they're rewriting our understanding of space combat." Even as he spoke, Thunder's Edge was demonstrating why Earth's naval history still held valuable lessons for the space age. Sometimes, the Admiral realized, the old ways were the best ways. That had confused the Empire's computers. Lieutenant Reed hosted groups of alien technicians showing them the maze of backup systems and redundant controls that kept Thunder's Edge running even when major systems failed. Some were horrified by the inefficient design, but others began taking notes. "You see," she explained to a group of wide-eyed engineers, "humans don't trust any single system to be perfect. We always plan for failure. That's why every critical component has a backup and every backup has a manual override." In the colony's military academy, Storm shared battle footage with alien tactical officers. They watched in fascination as the AI explained how human naval tactics from centuries past had been adapted for space warfare. "The key," Storm told them, "is unpredictability. Humans understand that perfect efficiency can become a perfect weakness. That's why they maintain knowledge of older combat methods alongside modern ones." The Empire's defeat had larger consequences. Other colonies hearing How a human warship had stopped the seemingly unstoppable enemy began requesting Earth's help with their own defenses. Some even started modifying their ships to include what they now called human-style redundancy. A month after the battle, as Thunder's Edge prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Tixes made a special announcement to all ships in the sector: from this day forward, all vessels are required to maintain basic radio equipment. Alongside quantum communications, additionally, we're implementing new combat protocols based on human tactical doctrine. Walker stood on his bridge watching colony workers install the last replacement armor plate. The shit's hole still showed signs of battle, some of the damage they'd kept deliberately as a reminder of lessons learned. Storm, he asked, what are the Empire ships doing now? Long-range sensors show they're modifying their fleet. The AI reported they appear to be adding redundant systems and backup controls. It seems they've learned from their defeat. Walker nodded. The Empire's perfect warships have been unable to handle primitive human tactics precisely because they were too perfect, too dependent on flawless operation. The battle had taught them the value of imperfection, of having multiple options when things went wrong. As Thunder's Edge broke orbit, a new warning began spreading through space traffic control centers across the sector. Warning: human warship detected in vicinity. Expect unconventional tactics and vary technology levels to not assume battle damage. Indicates reduced combat effectiveness. Admiral Tixes watched the human ship disappear into hyperspace. It scared Hull, a testament to both the damage it had taken and the damage it had survived. His tactical officer summed up what everyone had learned: the humans don't build their ships to be perfect, they build them to endure, to adapt, and to surprise, and that, sir, makes them more dangerous than any perfect warship could ever be. The battle reached its peak as Thunder's Edge, now fully unleashed, demonstrated why humans had survived countless wars throughout their history. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology, it was about having the most options, the most backups, and the most determination to use everything at your disposal.